above the deserts of dying Mars, presently look down on Earth. Spread out beneath them, the explorers saw worlds swarming with life. For years they studied, collected, catalogued. When they had learned all that they could, they began to modify. They tinkered with the destiny of many species, on land and in the ocean. But which of their experiments would succeed, they could not know for at least a million years. They were patient, but they were not yet immortal. There was so much to do in this universe of 100 billion suns, and other worlds were calling. So they set out once more into the abyss, knowing that they would never come this way again, nor was there any need. The servants they had left behind did the rest. On Earth, the glaciers came and went, but above them the changeless moon still carried its secret. With a slower rhythm than the polar ice, the tides of civilization ebbed and flowed across the galaxy. Strange and beautiful and terrible empires rose and fell, and passed on the knowledge to their successors. Earth was not forgotten. Another visit would serve its purpose. It was one of the million silent worlds, few of which would ever speak. Now, right among the stars, evolution was driving toward new goals. The first explorers of Earth had long since come to the limits of flesh and blood. As soon as their machines were better than their bodies, it was time to move. First their brains, and then their thoughts alone, they transferred into shining new holes of metal and of plastic. In these, they roamed among the stars. They no longer built spaceships, they were spaceships. But the age of machine entities swiftly passed. In their ceaseless experimenting, they had learned to store knowledge of the structure of space itself, and to preserve their thoughts for eternity in frozen lattices of light. They could become creatures of radiation, free at last from the tyranny of matter. In pure energy, therefore, they presently transformed themselves. In all 1,000 worlds, the empty shells they had discarded twitched for a while in a mindless dance of death, then crumbled into rust. Now they were lords of the galaxy, and beyond the reach of time. They could rove at will among the stars, and sink like a subtle mist through the very interstices of space. But despite their godlike powers, they had not wholly forgotten their origin in the warm slime of a vanished sea. And they still watched over the experiments their ancestors had started so long ago. The air in the ship is getting quite foul, and I have a headache most of the time. There's still plenty of oxygen, but the purifiers never really cleaned up all the messes after the liquids aboard started boiling into vacuum. When things get too bad, I go down to the garage and bleed off some pure oxygen from the pots. There's been no reaction to any of my signals because of my orbital inclination. I'm getting slowly further and further away